very interesting to get to. We were spookily driving through Vancouver's streets we couldn't find. And then it was like, oh, industrial, weird building, and there's no streetlights on this street. Uh-oh.
And not to mention, like, the street names. We didn't realize what type of grid system it was at first. So it's like, turn right on 119, and then turn right on 90th, then turn right on 115th. Then it was confusing.
It's in the Brigadoon part of Vancouver.
Yeah, so we're here with Zach. Zach, where are you from?
I don't even know anymore. Depends on how far back you want to go.
What's the name of your current project?
Oh, that. Yeah, I guess I have a band called Dead Animal Assembly Plant, and we occasionally do things.
What are you guys working on right now?
Right now we're working on a new album called Old Fashioned Hellfire. We pretty much have all the tracks laid out. We're just in the position of like mastering and all that.
Okay. And then, do you have an EP that came out recently? Not semi-recently.
You had the single, I know.
Well, that you guys did remixes for.
Yeah.
Plug. So yeah, that was the last bit that we've had any kind of release of.
Okay.
But God, even that feels like it's getting far away.
That was last year, right? I feel like it was last year. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Let's see.
Check the maps.
Well, yeah, it was last year. Okay.
Not that far away.
Yeah. And then you have a Comic Cry show coming out. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so next Tuesday, whenever, April 22nd. There we go, because I suppose it's not going to really matter in the podcast world.
No,
from the future.
I think this is going to be coming out probably, what?
We could probably push it up to the next one.
The next one?
If we we'll try to promote the show. But how'd you get that going? To give some background, the Comic Cry show is being put on by Mike Thrasher Events, which is like the hub of metal shows in Portland. Like he's the guy to go to for big name shows.
Metal, punk.
He also did like the V&V Nation show recently, and that sold out, which is crazy.
Yeah, that sold out.
Was that at Hawthorne?
It was at Hawthorne, and by the time I got there like when they started. To hand out some flyers. I didn't go to the show, but they were sold out, and it was just the sweatiest mess apparently.
Oh,
like just super sweaty.
That's pretty much the Hawthorne when it gets packed, like wall of people. It's just like, I can't breathe.
Yeah, I wonder what sold out is for the Hawthorne. I mean, it seems like a lot of people.
I was there recently to see Crosses.
Okay, how was that show?
That was an amazing show.
I haven't heard that project yet, but that's the new Deftones project.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It is really,
what kind of music is it? I honestly don't know anything about it.
It's more like kind of like electronic trip hop, and the themes are more like phantasmagorical.
Oh, Wes would like it.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, he does a lot more singing than just the screaming. So
then I won't like it.
I always appreciated his kind of sort of creepy singing that he did for Deftones. I don't know. I am a Deftones fan.
So is it the singer though, or is it? Oh, okay.
Gene Moreno.
I thought it was the other guy. I don't know why. The guitarist.
Yeah, I'm down for whatever he does. That sounds good to me.
It is really good. And I don't know if that was sold out, but it seemed really close to being sold out because it was like shoulder to shoulder people, and it was a sweaty, hot mess.
There was another show that night. I can't remember which one it was though, but I was like, oh, they're going to compete. That's kind of weird. Because a lot of people are going to the Crosses show that I didn't think would, because I don't know the band very well. But now that you explain it to me, it seems like it makes sense. There was some like, it was Abzon Geshpop. Now I look at that flyer. They played at the East End that same night.
I went there first.
Oh, okay.
Because Eric was drumming for the first band, the Tempest and the Diaspora.
Okay.
And so I went there to see him, and then I split and went and saw Crosses.
Cool. Busy night.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It happens every once in a while.
No, you've opened for Abzon Geshpop with us.
Yeah, that was our very first show ever.
Was it?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I thought it was. I couldn't remember. That was a fun show. They were really nice guys.
They were really nice. Apparently, Eric pissed him off this last time.
Oh, that's good.
It was good because, they didn't have a drummer, but Eric had his drum kit there. So when they were playing, Eric decided to jump up and to start drumming.
Oh, no.
And to me, it seemed like I wasn't there. But to me, that seemed like it would be fine because it was a small group of people. It's like, Who you insulting? Like, really? Or who you embarrassed? but apparently really, really pissed off the singer.
Oh no,
That's not good.
yeah, that's always a rough territory.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'd do if that happened to us. I go with it, obviously.
If
but-
somebody just jumped on stage and started performing.
Well,
with
Eric's
us.
a really good drummer though, and he's very he's able to improvise very well.
Yeah.
We're talking to Michael for Dead when I found her, and I don't know if you caught on to that. I know a little bit more about their history, but he was the drummer that auditioned for Dead when I found her, and did really well. But there's the logistics of it all. Michael said it didn't work out.
I think they all went to high school together. I think they've known each other for a really
Oh
long
really?
time. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, Combi Christ.
Oh yeah, Combi Christ.
How did you get on that?
When I first heard the buzz about it, I emailed the Thrasher people. Through the Hansel and Gretel show that we did there last May. That was the first any contact with them, because they seem really difficult to get involved with, and they book a lot of, that
Super
high mid-level show. He's like, yeah, you really want to get in good with them. So I emailed one of their promotional people. I was like, hey, there's shows coming up. I don't know if you guys need a local act, but, I'd really love to do it, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, okay, well, it's too early. We don't know if we'll need a local act. And then a while later, relatively recent, they contacted me like, hey, we want a spot. Are you available? And I'm an idiot, and I was a complete month off. I thought it was in May.
Oh.
So then I asked the band, hey, and they're like, yeah, of course. And then when I come back to them, oh, actually, it's in a few weeks, not in a month. I had a little bit of pushback, but then everyone agreed.
Yeah, you know what? So you guys have 5 people total, right? Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yeah, usually never more. I don't think we'd fit on stage. Well, actually, technically more when we have the girls dancing on stage.
Okay.
Because occasionally we do that. But yeah.
It's a lot of people to work with. Like, I had a big problem with that. I was in some black metal bands before, and like some just general, like metal bands, and I always hated trying to get people together. Like the people were all really nice, but we were all adults and had schedules, and it's like that's the worst part of it. So I make all the music myself for product, and it's like that's the best thing because I can do it in my weird off times. So I have like Mondays and Tuesdays off, and it's the worst. But and then we get together like once before a show and practice because we're just terrible people.
Yeah, it is. It's like sometimes it's like pulling teeth. Everyone has, we have kids, or they have careers, or you have this, and this, and that coordination is just. It sucks. For lack of a better word.
Are you doing a full band for the Comic Christ show?
We are. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how much room we're gonna have on stage.
Oh, not much.
No.
How many people are playing? 4 total?
Yeah. So it's us.
William Control.
New Year's Day.
And I think New Year's Day is like a full band as well.
Yeah.
I saw a picture.
William
of them.
Control
It's
is
like
not.
4 people or
He usually only has 2 or 3 people.
I imagine. I don't. Hopefully, someone will be sharing drums.
Okay.
I don't know if Comic Christ is gonna have 2 drummers this time too. So it's gonna be a very crowded stage.
Yeah.
I think they have a new drummer for this tour.
They have a different drummer. Yeah, I wasn't just say new because everybody like kind of rotates.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But I know that Abney's playing bass, which is kind of weird. But
yeah,
it's gonna be an interesting show for sure because New Year's Day is a very metal-oriented band.
They're like
with a chick singer. Right?
Yeah, they're like a Warped Tour band.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then William Control is more of like, man, that guy has a really weird career. But I really enjoyed his first album, and that's important.
The Hate
Everything
Culture.
else, Hate Culture was very good. I can't remember his other band's name right now.
Aiden. His emo band.
Yeah,
oh, wait, he's Aiden.
Yeah, he's Aiden.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and it's funny because he put out Hate Culture with William Control, his solo project, and then the next Aiden album was very dark.
Wow.
And very good in my opinion because I don't like his other stuff, but like
I'm gonna have to go re-listen to that now.
Yeah, it's super crazy. Anyway, so that'll be a fun show. I've seen William Control once, and they were fun. A lot of weird stuff, but fun times. So we were talking slightly before pushing record about your music process and stuff like that. I know we don't want to talk too much about nerdy stuff about it, but it's funny fitting it in whenever you can, like just at work and stuff like that. What do you for a laptop stuff? How do you have on the laptop? Just the bare minimums.
As far as like
just
the
jinking around at work.
Well, I mean, because my laptop is what we use for live.
Right.
So I've literally written entire songs at work, like pulling up Logic, and I have it's in the other room. I have like a tiny controller, a little USB, just and so I'm like, I'm gonna write this. So it's it pretty much is whenever you can squeeze in time. I guess that's part of being a stupid adult and having a stupid job.
Day job and a night job, and
I want to see you bring like a huge MIDI controller to work and be like, nah, never mind. It's in a box, it's like a briefcase. And you're like, what's that?
I bring that right there.
Yeah, just a big.
Don't mind me.
Yeah.
What is that? Nothing.
Just my guitar.
With my talk box.
That would be the best. Like just the guitar in the break room. Someone comes in, you're like, what's up?
They probably wouldn't be surprised if I did that.
At this point, it's too late. They already know about you.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a number of those people at your shows too, right?
Yeah. I mean, through the years that we've been doing live stuff, I've had the people I've worked with have been really supportive. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't there anymore. But unfortunately, my boss is also in a band. Yeah, he does music, so he has that empathy, that plight. Like, so if I last minute I need to leave early because there's load in.
That's the best.
Yeah, like next week, April 22nd, for the Comedy Cry show. It's like I'm usually off at 6:00, but loading is at 5,
right.
And so I put in some extra time. I'm like, hey, can I just leave early? He's like, yeah, it's fine. So it does make it really convenient.
So what you're saying is you're padding the audience.
That's right.
This makes sense.
Oh yeah, you have to pad the audience.
Always jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get your friends there. Like otherwise, you have 2 people. Not you, but
no, that's happening. No, I'm not exempt from anything like that. Are you kidding?
So the first product show that Levi played in the band was in Canada. It was in Edmonton, Canada, and we drove 28 hours to get there, which is a long time for 2 people to drive. And he drove most of the way. And we stayed up like a day and a half after that too. We didn't go to sleep really. And then we get to the show, and there's another band, and then like 2 other people from the band aside from those people. So there's like 4 people in the room, and then 1 paying customer. It was the best. And then we went out after the show to this nightclub that apparently is very popular, and it was packed, full of fucking people.
And you're like, where were you guys?
Guess what they were dancing to? Disturbed's Down with the Sickness fucking blew up in that room. People were jumping off tables, and it was the craziest thing. And then
we
went
can't
up.
See this in podcast land, but Zach is rubbing his temples furiously.
And with their flopping heads and beady little eyes.
It was the worst. It was the very worst. Trust me. We're like, oh my god.
You need to start doing Disturbed covers because that's the latest thing.
You gotta do like loungy Disturbed covers.
That would be.
Come on.
It's already been done.
Yeah, like Richard Cheese.
Yeah, Richard Cheese has already done it.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't beat you. That's funny.
Lounge
but
Against the Machine.
It's funny, but not funny. Because like 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember which year it was exactly, but we played a series of summer shows like 4 in a row. And then this fucking band called Metafisk, don't ask me how to spell that, did a Britney Spears cover and a Disturbed cover in their industrial quote-unquote set.
Yeah, at least your cover is Depeche Mode. That's at least tangential.
It is.
Yeah.
There's parallels to the cultures.
There's a history of remixing Depeche Mode, so
that's relevant.
You're touching on history.
It's all right. Kanye West is next.
Very short conversation.
Yeah, I wanted to make Kanye West a through line because, we talked about it with Michael Holloway and Michael was the odd man out there, but now I'm the odd man out. Now I'm the only one who likes Kanye West in the room.
It's a good thing. This is what it feels like.
Yeah. He's a motherfucking lyrical genius.
Oh no.
The voice of a generation.
He's Jesus.
Yeah, welcome to my heartbreak. You
God
too.
Damn it. God damn it! So you've played with Hansel and Gretel, which we recently played with. And they're very, very nice people. How was that? How was your experience with that?
Oh, Kaiser Von Lupi is really, really nice. I mean, the first time, when we played with them at the Fez.
Man, you're just following me around.
I know. I'm riding your coattail.
I forgot that we played that show.
Take me to Canada with you.
I looked at the flyer right above West there, and I was like,
oh, shit.
Shit, we did play with them.
But it's funny because both of our dads were in World War II.
Okay.
So we like had that really long conversation about that generation and how a lot of it's forgotten. And then last time we did a show with him at the Hawthorne Lounge, I actually gave him a helmet that was passed on to me and my family.
Nice.
It was a World War I German helmet.
Nice.
So I was like, I think he would really appreciate this. So
that's cool.
That's really cool. I didn't realize that his the ancestry of World War II in there. That must play interestingly into the all the stuff that I'm really uncomfortable with.
The fake Nazi stuff.
The fake Nazi stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we opened for them at a show recently in Seattle, and there was this band called Church of Hate that came on before us.
Yeah.
And I think they were first, and then we were second.
Yeah.
And they all came out in white theaters and were shaved heads and everything. We're like,
oh
my
no.
God. This is gonna be the worst. We're gonna get in a fucking fight, and it's gonna be the worst.
Yeah, we were all worried that they were Nazi skinheads. So I had to look up their Facebook. I'm like, oh God, am I gonna get in a fight? Am I gonna get in a fight? I look up their Facebook, and they specifically say on their Facebook that they are anti-racist. So I was very relieved.
We were relieved.
So Hansel and Gretel does kind of the fake Nazi thing. They're doing the fake skinhead thing.
Apparently.
Right? No, I don't know.
Everybody's in wife beaters with shaved heads with a band name called Church of Hate.
Scream.
And they walked out goose stepping. It was really weird.
Yeah. Everybody was Sieg Heiling.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they weren't actually racist.
But somewhat disappointed too.
Man. The best part of that show is while we were playing, there was this guy up front who was just going crazy. I don't know, he was, I guess, hip hop dancing. I guess,
nice.
But he was
popping
going.
and locking.
No, he was super hyphy.
Yeah, he was
crazy.
he was crumping. He was getting hyphy.
Crazy.
But he was going crazy, and then out of nowhere he just vomits.
It was the best.
This kid danced so hard that he vomited, and then he came up to us at the merch booth after the show, and he's like, "Oh man, that was great." And we're like, "Man, you vomited. What's up?" And he's like, "Never danced that hard after taking 2 hits of acid."
Oh wow.
Oh man.
At least he threw up before he started talking to you.
It's true. Yeah. But I just like that we made some kid puke by he danced too hard.
On acid too.
On acid. That's
so there you go. You gave him a great trip.
It's great. Just straight edge lyrics, just killing him.
Yeah, I would hate to have Michael in my face. I've never done hallucinogenics, but I would hate to have Michael screaming in my face while on hallucinogenics.
Right? Yeah. Well,
we'll send you down to Gitmo.
Well, I have, and it would be a terrible experience. Let me tell you.
You screamed at yourself while on hallucinogens?
No.
Just stared at the mirror.
God damn you!
I know you! You get out of here! What?
This is not my face!
Why are the walls melting? I've done acid twice. I don't know if we'll talk about this, but I'm going to anyway. But it was crazy.
That's on drug talk.
I know. It was crazy. Because we were... a girlfriend and I were in Hawaii. We took acid and I ended up going home. That's a whole other story, but I was doing fine. The lamps were a little shaky, and my dad was sitting up waiting for me because I was 14. And anyway, I managed to go to bed somehow, and then my girlfriend texted me and she was like, "The sky is falling." At that point, I was not seeing too much, and I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "The stars, they're literally falling from the sky right now." And I was like, "No, they're not." I look at the window and they fucking were. Because she said it happened, and I just freaked out for another 5 hours.
That's the best thing about hallucinogens. You can completely inject your experiences into someone else's head if you're both on the same drug.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've done my fair share, and your fair share, and your fair share of hallucinogens. So that could be 5 hours.
Is that why you own a Theron?
Wait, look at the date. That's right.
Hollywood 2013.
There we go.
Okay.
What that says.
I did lights for that show. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun show. Just theremin and ghost noises.
They were actually pretty nice. I didn't really talk to anyone at Dawn of Ashes because they showed up really, really late. And that's why they didn't get a sound check.
Yeah.
So,
that's what happens.
I mean, seriously, Cyclone 9 was there really early. And they set up. And we waited to put our stuff on stage. Because we're like, well, okay, we'll wait for Dawn of Ashes. And then they're just like, just put your stuff up there. I mean, we can't keep waiting. So
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone was really nice.
Yeah.
So it was pleasant.
It was a fun show. It was pretty packed. It was good.
Yeah, it's like, where are you people at the other shows?
Yeah. I was just thinking that at the B&B Nation show that was fucking sold out.
Or the Skinny Puppy show, which was sold out. Which was 21 and over, sold out at the Wonder Ballroom, which was a decent sized venue.
Yeah. It's a big venue.
And I'm walk in there, I'm like, I don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
Why don't you come to shows? Where are you guys?
That's when you just like take a handful of flyers and make it rain, you know?
And tax and start hucking them at people like, you should be supporting local bands.
Well, I was flying outside of the B&B Nation show for the Division show that's coming up, and nobody knew about it. It's a fairly recently announced show. It's a couple months from now. But people are like very, very surprised. And I think the problem is that there's one guy, Derek, doing promotion sometimes, and everybody else is kind of absentee at this point. I don't mean anything bad about any of those people. They're good people, but they're absentee. They're like the father that never was, of course. And I was standing outside handing out flyers that I made myself for the show that I'm not even on. And people were very, very surprised. They're like, holy shit, Division's coming? And I'm like, yes, please come. Oh, I definitely will. But we don't have that culture anymore because of the internet.
Yeah.
And it's strange that it's lost on the industrial community, because I still see people outside of punk shows handing out flyers all the time. So it's like...
Yeah, we just got to get that DIY aesthetic,
Yeah, that's the street teams.
Yeah, but who has time for that?
Yeah. Well, that's what street teams are for. Like you were saying, you get obsessed fans to do it for you. I need some obsessed fans.
Fans?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Well, the obsessed fans also have day jobs.
Man.
They're old people now. Oh, no.
That's why we got to get teenagers.
Yeah, we can't get into the show.
And that's why, something like the Comic Cry show, to me, is really important because it's all ages. And it's our first real all ages show.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the other bands, like, New Year's Day, I mean, they have, like, an obsessed following because of the lead singer.
Right.
And William Control and Comic Cry have such strong followings. It's like, it's youth.
Right.
People getting up. Well, I'm older than you guys, but getting up in our age group, people do tend to get, it seems like, jaded.
Sure.
It's interesting. I've heard like variations on this argument too. Like I've heard people specifically say we don't need young people in our scene. Like, what happens to your scene if you don't get anybody new? You just
want to go old and die? I mean, like, it's just...
like how's that even supposed to work?
I thought you want that. I mean, don't you want something to carry on? I mean, don't you want to bestow any kind of, whether it's music knowledge or literature or just personal philosophy, don't you want to kind of say that to younger people?
I wonder if it's a fear of change. Like, when you introduce younger people into a scene, they're going to bring the things that they grew up with. They're going to bring their, like, weird influences and all that. And that brings with it a change, Like, if an 18-year-old starts making synth pop now, it's not going to be the synth pop.
It's going to be the Mr. Kitty.
It's Mr. Kitty instead of V&V. It's
right,
a very different... Like, it's related, but it's different. And I wonder if the rejection of young people is a fear of that change.
God, it makes us sound like crotchety old people. Those young, I don't understand their music.
Well, you see, Nietzsche said, no.
When I was your age, music was music.
Speaking of
you
your
get
age,
the hell out of my junkyard.
Get the fuck off my lawn that's covered in car parts that aren't from cars. Oh, no. So what did you grow up listening to before? Let's not say that. What did you first get into, like, super hard before you were 21?
Well,
it was some time ago.
Going back when I was like a little kid, because I have an older sister, and she was like a massive metalhead.
Oh, okay.
And I had, little kid, zero identity, zero awareness of really what an identity was. So she was just like, you should listen to this and this. So I grew up somewhat listening to, the stuff that, like, old Metallica, Slayer, but then I kind of drifted away from that, and I had my grunge phase when I was in high school. Sure. When I was like a sophomore, like, Nirvana, wear my flannel, dye my hair purple. Nice. But then, once, like, honestly, I was a huge Manson-ite. I had zero shame behind that. When I was in high school, like between my sophomore and junior year, is when like Some Like Children came out, and then when Antichrist came out, it just blew my mind.
Just for those of you who are still underage, just Marilyn Manson. He was big in the 90s.
That was my
early
first,
2000s.
That was my first real concert I ever went to, was the Antichrist tour.
Oh, really? That was
Yeah.
a great tour. I wasn't lucky enough to be into it at that point, but I've seen countless videos from that tour, and there was an amazing performance from what I understand.
It was like, I mean, to me, that was like the zenith of his career.
Sure.
But I mean, and this was, I guess it was before really like any strong internet influence for music,
Sure.
other than like, sharing files on like LimeWire and Kazaa and that kind of stuff. But I was still like, getting mixtapes from people that I knew online from back east of like Wumpscut.
Yeah.
It's just like, that was my first, Wumpscut was just a tape of like Blood, Drought of Gomorrah, so.
That's hilarious.
Is that what got you into in this realm of music, is kind of that path up through Marilyn Manson into Wumpscut? And
it was funny, like, it was that, and I remember the specific point when I'm just like, I want to be on stage. Because I lettered in drama in high school, so I always did that kind of acting stage stuff. As far as music, Portland, I used to have the, like, what was it, NRK? NRK used to have the big, what's that? It was the KUFO. No, KUFO had Rockfest. Okay. NRK had the Big Stink, which was like a music festival. And I was a teenager, and it was way out in Estacada, and it was like Gravity Kills and Chemical Brothers and Stabbing Westward. And when I saw because I was a huge fan of Stabbing Westward, and when I saw Stabbing Westward play, I'm just like, it just looked so much fun. His interacting with the audience and that whole energy, I'm just like, it was infectious. I was like, I want to do this. Someday I'm going to do this.
you mentioned you lettered in drama in high school. I think that kind of says a lot about your stage performance with Dead Animal Assembly Plant, which, if you haven't seen Dead Animal Assembly Plant, the stage presence is amazing. Like, Zach, you come out in these crazy costumes. You've got your, I saw your plague doctor mask over in the corner. Like, it's definitely, it's not just a musical performance. It's performance art as well. Like, what do you think have been your inspirations for going that direction with your stage performance?
Well, I mean, I guess there's the obvious, like, Skinny Puppy, that whole, like, heavy horror genre. And I mean, and to me, that was kind of like that drive behind it was going to a show to experience a performance. Going to a lot of shows, especially back in the old Paris days, when Derek was still like booking a lot of the shows coming through, and they were really fun. I mean, and it wasn't just like, oh, well, you need to have a bunch of people on stage to make it a good show. I mean, even like the early like Covenant shows where they had like the background projection and stuff like that. I was like, well, it still added a lot of element to it. So that was just like a driving force. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do stuff live, which wasn't my idea when I first started Dead Animal Assembly Plant by myself, I'm like, well, I want to make it something that people enjoy watching. Maybe they don't even enjoy the music. Maybe they just enjoy the energy. And I usually have pretty reserved energy off stage, so it's kind of my catharsis is stage.
I feel that way very much as well for my music. It's like a couple of I work in security, and a couple of coworkers came to my show maybe a year ago, and they're like, what is happening? Because I'm pretty reserved, like pretty modern tempered guy, but it's one of those things. It's like you get on stage and it's like, now it's time to really just
let it all
beat
out.
yourself up, And I think that's it's a good thing, because there's not a lot of bands in our genre-ish that do that.
That was the Hive show, right? That's when we introduced the lights.
Star Theater, yeah, it was the first lights. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there's
good.
nothing like getting on that stage and just like leaving everything out there and just like coming back a husk, you know?
Yeah, it's you pretty much are like this dumping this out on the crowd, and you hope that it sinks in some way.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite show so far? You're looking at the wall of flyers to recant them.
Actually, I have to say, I think that
The
was
Seattle show?
yeah, that was the first Seattle show we did at the High Line,
Uh-huh. One
and
of my favorite venues in Seattle.
that was our first time playing in Seattle. We only played there twice, but it was so much fun because like it wasn't that the crowd was huge, is that they had so much energy.
Sure.
And they were so positive, and there was a lot of that give and take, and they weren't like afraid to dance or to sing along or to headbang mosh like in a mosh pit. I'm like, really? Wow, okay. I mean, like they were unabashed with their energy, and that was really, really infectious.
Nice.
I mean, you know, you even if there's one person in the crowd and they're standing with their arms crossed, like looking disinterested, you know, you always throw that energy at them, but when you get it back, it's just, you know, anything
That's
can you do.
it's actually just now started happening for us in Seattle.
It's really
I have
weird.
a really awkward history of Seattle because we played at El Corazon a lot, and El Corazon's a half bar, half regular venue, right? And the stage is really high at El Corazon, and they have cameras on the stage. So for the adults who would like to be in the bar, they stay there until they see you on stage. But I play on the floor where the cameras aren't there. So a lot of times
Only the first time.
No, I've done that like 3 or 4
Oh,
times.
really?
Yeah.
When's that band coming on?
Yeah, and they hate it. They hated us being on the floor because they were too close to them.
I like that though. That's
so
personal.
do I. And then we moved to the High Line more recently. I think we played like 4 shows there now.
Yeah, all through Mechanismus.
3 shows, that's right.
DJ Savak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ollie. And
Ollie's great.
only recently for the Assemblage 23 show was it a good time. Like
I wouldn't say it was a bad time.
oh no, God
previously.
Module. God Module 2 was a good time.
Yeah, they were both good.
Yeah. We played on the floor then too. And
Yeah.
they finally like decided to come up closer.
So that's a good. I think that's a good shtick.
Yeah.
Is playing on the floor because people aren't used to that in any way. Because people, I think you're used to that separation, that
Sure.
kind of us and them. But it's like no, when you get in there in people's faces, then they have to react in some way.
Right.
And you're like, okay.
When we were at the DNA Lounge recently, they didn't want us to. They were very, very forceful of us not playing on the floor, which is understandable, kind of.
It was
Very-
also a little unfortunate because there was no room on the stage.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I literally had to bounce in place rather than jumping around the stage like
Yeah.
I normally do.
I know. And we ended up jumping down on the floor, of course, anyway, because we're just the worst people. But it was weird playing on the stage. I can't get over it. Not because it's on the stage, but because there's no room. And like I'm a very flamboyant person on stage. Like I just throw my arms wherever they go, and sometimes I hit
You
people.
run laps.
Yeah, and so you can't do that on a tiny 2-foot area where you're shared with 2 other people.
Yeah.
So with your band, that's got to be super super tight because you have 3 more people than I do, and a drum kit to boot.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially the drum kit. Yeah, that was when we did the 16-volt show with Dead When I Found Her.
Okay.
Eric Powell has so much gear, like it blew my mind, and so
Is that the Fez?
yeah,
Oh, it's a small stage too.
and yeah, I mean,
It's not a tiny, but
yeah, it has room when there's not a lot of stuff on it, but when there's drum kit and then huge stacks of rack mount gear and then 10,000 guitars and all his graded lights, I'm like, oh my god. And so we went on first, and it was just literally this much space. I'm just like,
it's like a tiny walkway.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna lean over, and that's all I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you in podcast world, he was literally drawing a box around his legs to show that he had no room other than his body's space.
And we need a camera here, don't we? Just do a live cam.
Yeah. Just some snapshots.
Hey.
I have a Highline question for you. Did you eat there?
Was there food there? Because there wasn't for a while.
It says 2013, so I think that was still food time.
Okay. No, we just drank there.
That's too bad. Their food was so good. If you're listening, Highland, bring back your food.
Okay, I don't know if you were being sarcastic or not.
No,
I couldn't tell.
No, it was very, very good.
We look forward to the Highline shows every time, regardless of how the crowd reacted, because they have the best vegan food ever. Like, it's amazing. To the point where Levi, who's not vegan or vegetarian, would like look forward to their fake tuna melts because it was so good.
Yeah.
And then like the last time we went up there, we're like, all right, we're gonna get those vegan Reubens. There's no vegan Reubens. There's no vegan anything. All you have is alcohol. God damn it!
Is that vegan? Well, that's shit.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. We the whole ride up there we were looking forward to it. Found out they weren't serving anymore. They said they were going to bring it back though. So.
Yeah, like two days a week or something.
It's weird.
Because they were just losing money on it. Like people weren't spending enough money for them to have the staff every single night. You know, which makes sense.
And so
they don't have the same
liquor laws
here in Oregon. Like
even though we're in Washington.
Oh yeah, you're in Washington. You don't have to have food in your bars, but down in Oregon, where me and Michael live, all bars have to have at least 3 menu items. So like, you know, it sucks to go up here sometimes and find out that there's just no food at the bars and we have to make 2 trips.
Yeah,
it's kind of convenient, you know. Everybody bitches about the OLCC, but I think that's a pretty convenient rule.
So if you could play anywhere with any band, what would it be?
Oh.
At any time frame.
1860.
Yeah, I know Beethoven back at the no.
Sure, I'll take that. Too late. You already said Beethoven. I don't give a fuck anymore.
I'm out of here. This interview's over.
All right, you're us.
Leave
all you want. We'll stay here
We're
overnight. So the Talking to Ghosts podcast doesn't have anything to do with ghosts. And we get a lot of weird mail. This is the first time we've gotten mail, actually, about... We got mail from a ghost hunter recently.
Yeah.
We thought we were a ghost hunter podcast.
Well, here we go.
Now we can turn it into it.
How about that? Do you guys have any paranormal experiences that you'd like to share?
Oh, man. When I was in high school,
I
was all about the paranormal. Like, I was into otherkin. I was into, like, paganism. Like, everything was paranormal for me. Like, now I don't really buy into that so much. But, like, back then, you know, I thought there was this point where I thought a ghost had like put itself in the body of an ex-girlfriend at the time, and like
wow,
me and a Mormon friend worked together to exorcise the ghost from my friend.
And it worked.
Yeah, like I'm there
Jesus, fuck you.
I'm like pushing it out with like my
what?
Red magic energy.
Yeah, I know.
He's birthing the energies.
And,
this has been turned into an X-rated podcast.
My friend's got like the Book of Mormon in his hand, like yelling like,
oh
Jesus commands you out.
Where's my magic underwear stat?
He wasn't old enough for magic underwear yet.
There's an age limit to magic underwear?
You don't get it right away. I think you have to be, I don't think so.
You're not birthed with underwear?
It's some kind of like special rite. Like it's like a...
Well, you have to get your temple recommends first. So right. I grew up in southern Utah, and what that means is that I know everything about Mormonism.
And I don't because you wanted to, but just because you were around it.
Yeah,
assimilated
you learn everything about Mormonism just by osmosis. It's so much in the air that it just trickles into your brain.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
I almost was converted on 3 separate occasions just from sheer attrition.
Oh, man. I don't know if I have any paranormal experiences. I have a lot of weird feelings and stuff, like energies and stuff like that.
Okay,
like Hawaii was super fucked up. Hawaii had some fucked up energies for sure. Just there's so many people that died there constantly. Everybody died all the time. But I wouldn't say that I ever had any like ghost story-ish ones.
I was just remembering that I think I actually had an experience where I thought I was talking to a ghost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought I was a ghost.
Oh, was it in the mirror?
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
The ghost of the man I used to be.
Oh.
I can't remember what we were talking about before this rant.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
What are you...
If any band you could tour with at any time period, what would it be?
Any band to tour with?
Or a one-off or whatever. Just who would you most love to play with in all time ever?
Oh God, I mean that's a good question. That's a hard question to answer. I mean, if I could tour with any band in any venue and then have the budget too.
Yeah. It's all free.
Because like then I would love to do like an arena.
Not only is it free, somebody's paying for it.
Fantastic. No, I can dream. Because like looking at bands like Rammstein, and when I first saw them play was at the Roseland, and all their theatrics and all their pyrotechnics, they were able to translate it to a small venue.
Oh, really?
But then watching them play like at the Tacoma Dome, and they had this huge stage, multiple tiers, multiple layers of backdrops, seeing the potential, like having obviously a reasonable budget, and being overly dramatic is just such an amazing show, and I would love to tour with them because I imagine they would be fucking crazy to tour with, and have that level of stage to work with, and have a budget where you could do like big props and actually have the coordinated lighting, even with pyrotechnics. That lose my mind.
That'd be a fun one.
Can you imagine like going on tour with a big band that's like that energetic on stage, and like off stage they're just kind of like hanging out, really like low key,
really mellow, nice guys.
Like, hello, let's come in. Have some schnitzel.
How's it going? We got some kombucha in the cooler.
Well, that will be us someday. Yeah, I mean, well, you're playing with Comic Crazy, you can just hug all of them and just get the stank off them.
That's true,
Yeah,
yeah.
tour with Rammstein enough, you just get that stank. Just rub it on yourself. I'll never shower again. I love you.
God. I don't know if I want that stink.
It's true. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That'd be a fun, just whirlwind of arenas.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine what a playing arena would be like, to be honest. Like,
It'd be intimidating.
it would be beyond intimidating for me because it's just like you can't even see most of the people. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if I could even do it. Like, I'm such a like punk kid at heart that like I want that personal like small club feeling. Like, I want lots of people to be there, but I want to be able to see like every single person, look them in the eyes and scream at them.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that and personally, yeah, I mean, going to the smaller venues is a lot more entertaining. I mean, very few bands can get me to come out to an actual arena just to see them, but just to have that experience, just you walk out and you see just people and the acoustics and the roar. It would just be really interesting to have that experience, because if you think about it, you think of all the thousands of bands, not even past but currently, not a lot of them get to experience the whole idea of the arena.
It's true.
It would just the heart would always be in the smaller venue, because I think because it's the personal aspect, and you're able to get into the crowd, you're able to see the crowd, you're able to really interact with them, and you don't have like a barrier and a wall of security. But I guess just to have that swell of energy would just be intense.
Yeah, I can imagine like having that many people like just roaring at you would fill you with so much like I would explode. Like, I would just explode all over that stage.
Oh my God! Wow. Are you keeping your pants on in this fantasy?
Let's say no.
What you have in arenas were the people.
Yeah.
You can literally explode on that.
Yeah, you just gotta explode all over them.
Jesus.
Which was kind of like the Rammstein show. When he comes out riding on that giant dick and sprays foam on all the audience.
So I've never seen a Rammstein.
Oh, well.
But I know very well what happens at them. I know there's giant vaginas just for fun.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one?
Thinking of Robin Williams.
Oh. Is that a thing?
Yeah, his Robin Williams Live on Broadway was on the set of like Vagina Monologues or something.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Wow.
No, I saw a video recently where the singer came out of a vagina. And
really?
That makes sense.
No, it made perfect sense. It was. I didn't flinch about it, but like, it's just funny. Can you imagine if you hadn't heard the music and hadn't seen the live show or knew anything about it, just gone? on a whim. Your friend was like, "Ah, come on!" And you're like, "This is like Barry Manilow, right?"
Totally.
Yeah. Rammstein did the soundtrack for a movie called Nymphomaniac Part 1 recently.
Oh, I didn't know they did the soundtrack.
Did they do the
for that.
soundtrack for that?
They did. They have the key song on it, and I believe they did most of the soundtrack.
Huh.
Which the song, the main title song is obviously Rammstein, but the other stuff is kind of piano-y. I'll have to look into that more to be truthful, but it was an interesting movie for sure.
Did you see it?
I did.
How was it?
It was good.
I really don't
It
want to
was
see
super-
Shia LaDouche get his dick sucked.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not my
I
thing.
saw his dick. It was pretty X-rated, to be honest. There was a lot more pornography than I was comfortable with, but the storyline underneath it was very good.
That's
Like the characters are really well played.
You pretty much have to expect that with. Was it? Who was the director?
I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Lars von Trier.
Ooh, maybe.
Was it?
Yeah, I think
I
it
think
was.
it
Lars von
was.
Trier?
I think it was. Sounds
Didn't
familiar.
he do a movie with
Willem Dafoe.
William Dafoe where it's
He-
also
Antichrist.
like creepy sex
Oh,
stuff?
Antichrist. I didn't know
Yeah.
he did that one. That
Yeah.
one was a fucking weird
Was
movie.
that
I haven't seen it yet. I saw the trailer for it and I was like, I have to see it, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, and I was like, time to bring out the phones.
Yeah, it was good though. I did see it, and part 1 is coming, or part 2 is coming out soon.
I didn't know it was a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Of course, I guess if it's like porn, it'll be like 8 volumes.
It makes sense. Like, I wish there wasn't so much dick and like weird sex things that happen. Obviously, it's important to the story because the nymphomaniac, but like,
Lars von Trier.
but the characters were really, really good. Like just the weird psychosis that happens with a lot of the characters.
Huh.
Didn't Shia LaBeouf like just recently go through like sex rehab or something?
I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
I'm sure.
Just like David Duchovny. Oh, sex addict. Whoa, weird.
After being in Californication, I imagine developing a weird sex addiction.
What are you talking about? He's innocent. He's just a file drawer full of pornography and X-Files, right? That's all.
What do you think X stands for?
Triple X Files.
Extraterrestrial?
Oh, I am sure
Giggity.
that porn exists.
Yeah. Well,
It's
And
just-
he's probably in it too.
It's just-
Actually.
It's just too obvious. I don't think it's like what's his name? I don't think it's a Screech thing where like David Duchovny is
God.
giving somebody a dirty Sanchez.
what?
You didn't hear about that?
No.
Screech doing porn.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's happening to the world all around me? Do you use the theremin in your music? Or is
I haven't
it-
yet.
Is it a guilty pleasure toy?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used the only theremin that I have used is we use live is the baby head. They have
Oh, that thing.
yeah over there.
Oh.
And it's not as tonal as like a good theremin. I don't know if you can still hear me while I'm talking around the room, but it has the photosensitive cell on it.
Oh, okay.
So even without it being plugged in,
Oh, so it does make just fucking weird noises.
yeah. And so I run it through the pod, so it'll make weirder noises, and so
okay.
the Dusty usually deals with that.
So Zach has a doll's head, which he's rigged to something crazy, and made a theremin out of just. Do those eyes light up?
Yeah,
I never noticed that. That's crazy.
Yeah. When he turned it on, they glowed red.
So,
it has Jesus eyes too, so like it'll follow you wherever you're standing in the room.
And then on top of that, it's got like blood splattered all over the back of it.
Yeah, that's from Dusty.
Oh, is that real blood?
No, it's fake blood, but
would you be surprised if it was?
I would not.
I would not either.
no, especially if it's Dusty because he's always hurting himself.
It's just weird. Yeah, that's funny. What has been your favorite show that you've played so far?
I think we asked that.
Aside from the Highline that you've asked me.
Yeah.
What has been your least favorite show?
No. Oh no, that's, I plead the fifth. No.
Yeah, right. Anything you want to promote?
Yeah. What do you want to plug?
Oh man, I don't even know. Well, I mean, if even this goes after the fact, I hope everyone went to the Comedy Cry show and had fun. I hope you went early and saw us.
And if you're from the future,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If you have a time machine and you did not go to the show, this is what you use it for. Just remember not to talk to yourself, or time will collapse in upon itself, and destroy all of us.
So, oh Jesus. So then when I found it used a lot, God damn it. Dead Animal Assembly Plant.
The other
uses a
dead
lot-
band in this
I know.
town.
Stop it. You guys pick a better name. No, I'm just kidding. So Dead Animal Assembly Plant uses a lot of horror imagery, obviously.
Yeah.
Just because you're just a lifelong obsession with horror. Is that what was the deal behind that? The name and the everything.
Actually, the name is funny because actually the name has nothing to do with horror at all.
Okay.
Years ago, looking online for like business licenses, and there's really strange business licenses you have to get. Like, you have to have a business license to be an egg inspector.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. So there in Oregon there is a business license that you have to get called a Dead Animal Assembly Plant.
Wow.
And
With the comma after dead animal.
no, it's all together.
I looked this up when I was
Is there a
looking
comma
for
after? No.
when I was looking for stuff that like press on you. I looked it up. The first result was Oregon, corporation information, dead animal, comma, assembly plant. And I was like, oh my God, this is great.
It's the store transport animal carcasses properly. So when I saw that, I'm like, that is really, really absurd. And I'm like, I just have to make a band after that, because it's ridiculous.
Yes.
At the time I was working on, so my keyboardist Case has a band, his project called Bound in Oblivion.
Okay.
And I mean, he's been kind of in the Portland scene, at least, well, for like a while. He's a while back because he was in 16 Volt and toured with them and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So we were working on an album together, and so there was a lot of, you're working with a bunch of people, a lot of creative, or any other person, creative compromise. So there's a lot of spillover ideas. But it's like, well, I want to do this, but he doesn't want to do it, so I'm just going to do this. And so that's kind of where Dead Animal Assembly Plant came from. And the whole mythology about being the butchers and coming from the sweetmeat slaughterhouse just kind of unraveled, just kind of start coming out. Because I thought it would be fun to create characters, to create a mythology behind it, just to kind of have that fun aspect to it.
Nice.
Also, speaking of horror, how was meeting Pinhead?
Oh man, so that was really fun. He was really nice. Because there was the H.P. Lovecraft Festival this last weekend, and we, my fiance and I went and saw him doing a reading of Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft.
Awesome.
So he did the reading, and then afterward he took a bunch of questions, and of course there was a lot of questions about Hellraiser, because you can't talk to Doug Bradley without talking about Hellraiser. So he was really funny and really nice. And so afterwards, he went back to his table that he had set up. And it was the end of the night, so there really wasn't anyone else around. So I'm like, I brought a CD with. I'm like, what? You just never know. So, I talked to him briefly, nervous as hell, no saliva in my mouth. I'm like... And I gave him the CD, and he was really nice. Whether he just hucks it later, who knows? He's like, oh, coaster. But he was really nice, and got his autograph, had the pictures taken with him. And it's funny because his girlfriend, who he was there with, after I posted a picture of us on Instagram, she made a comment, and she was just like, hey, the Plague Doctor masks are kind of my thing, because I showed him a picture of the mask that I wear on stage. I'm like, well, because I'm really inspired by horror, and the stage show is very horror oriented. And she makes Plague Doctor masks, so I'm gonna try to stay in contact with her.
So the goal is to move in. Just live at his house.
That's right. I'll live in his crawl space. I mean,
Don't tell him.
Yeah.
Well, I think the end goal, based on the aesthetic of Dead Animal Assembly Plant, is to live in him.
That's
live
a
in
little.
his skin.
That's very Hellraiser right there. That's perfect. He would probably appreciate that. That's something that. But he was my. Pinhead was my favorite, like, horror villain of all times, because you know, growing up with all the slasher flicks, you know, I love Freddy Krueger because he's funny and creative. I love Jason, strong, silent type. But he was like always that like blasphemous, poetic, you know, everything was kind of like a double entendre. There was, you know, because it's Clive Barker, so everything has to do with sex with Clive Barker. So
sure.
And he just made it so elegant and eloquent that, and I loved his outfit. I wanted his outfit.
My whole life has seen a bite. I knew it. Well, that's cool. How was the HP Lovecraft Festival? I didn't get a chance to go.
Yeah.
Kind of wanted to.
I didn't go to as many things as I wanted to.
Go.
I went.
Did you guys go to the Vampire Masquerade Ball? It was on the same night. Saturday night.
No.
Good.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm not gonna slam anything. It's just not my thing. It's just, you know, it's. I don't.
You know, I've been twice in the last 2 years. Not this year, but the last 2 years. And it was really fun, but it's like $35 to go to Shadow Play, basically.
Yeah.
And then dress up a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I was in high school, I wore poet shirts and crushed velvet and top hats. I just can't do it anymore.
It's super surprising.
Yeah.
I never would have seen that.
Really? No. Yeah, my senior pictures were taken in a graveyard. Shit you not.
That is the best thing.
Is that so?
Awesome.
It's so like
Can you get us those so that we can post them on the?
I have no shame. I'll.
That's the best.
Please do. Like no joke. We will post them.
They're
if you get them to us.
I think they're at my mom's house, so I can.
We'll go there. Where is it?
Tiger.
Oh, that's
close. That's not far. That's close.
I'll get them. I'll get them, and I'll. No, it was so bad because I had like really long hair.
Nice.
And it's so vampy with like all the articulated armor rings and.
Nice.
I'm like, I look at that. I'm like, I would have kicked my own ass.
Oh yeah. We've all been there.
I would love to go back in time to slap myself like, stop being an ass.
No kidding. Like I look back at high school sometimes and I go, oh, no wonder nobody liked me.
No shit. Oh, man.
They were right.
I
They were
was
right
an
to hate
asshole.
me.
Why did this happen? Oh yeah. Yeah. Just dumb shit I wore in high school and middle school for that matter. I was in Hawaii for most of high school, and there was not a lot of gothic people around. And at one point, I decided to get synthetic dreads, shave the side of my head with a Bic razor, and like, it was the fucking weirdest thing. Like, people had never thought that was a thing that could happen.
Where are those pictures?
I have some, yeah.
Why don't you post those online?
will.
I'm sure everyone wants to see
will.
that.
They're on
I know
my-
I do.
They're on my page. I'll send
Are
them
they?
to you.
Oh.
I'll
shit.
send them to you. Yeah, it's crazy, and like, get beat up a lot. That's all. It's Hawaii. But I remember making my own like London After Midnight patches because you couldn't get them where I was living, and like stupid goth patches out of like bleach and tedious Q-tipping.
Hell yeah. DIY, baby.
Just couldn't do it.
Yeah, being a punk in like a town of 7,000 people in southern Utah doesn't work out very well.
You were SLC punk.
The SLC punk was at least, you know, in a city. That was 4 hours north of me. I was backcountry punk.
Oh no.
I was Hurricane Valley punk.
Yeah, I went to high school in the Central Oregon coast in this little town called Waldport, and it's about 12 miles south of Newport.
Okay.
And yeah, and I moved here from a suburb of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So it was like coming from the Midwest, you know.
Where life is.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people, and they're pretty rude.
And Chicago is even like a hub of like subculture, so you know.
I was
like,
way too young to even like. I didn't even have that concept of like subculture. And then coming out here to a town of like 1,200 people,
oof.
and then especially making, you know, while in high school they're making that transition to being like a grunge kid to a goth kid, and it was the worst thing ever because it was. I was like that nonstop battle between like who's gonna try to kick my ass today. Is it gonna be the jocks? Is it gonna be the rednecks? Is it gonna be both of them? how many times am I going to get kicked out of class because the teacher doesn't want me to wear an anarchy sign? And I literally how it was. I would get kicked out of class because art class, especially art class of all things, because my art teacher's like, you can't draw skulls anymore. I'm like,
you've drawn all the skulls anyone has ever thought of, and now you're done. Get out of here.
There's literally no other skulls you could draw.
She made a list of things I was not allowed to draw.
Oh,
and every time I tried to draw them, I would get kicked out of the class.
That sucks.
In art class, I like the one space where it was okay. I just fucked it up.
That's what I figured. It was like, art is supposed to be art. This is supposed to be like a safe haven for weirdos and eccentric kids, right? No.
Man, so again, I went to school in Hawaii, and there's an open air school, so there was like buildings everywhere with no solid structure to the campus. So a lot of like walkways with a lot of large grassy areas. And we would sit on the grass areas because it makes sense to sit not on the pavement but on the grass, right? During breaks or whatever.
Seems softer.
And only the goth kids got kicked off the grass. I swear to God, we got kicked off of that stupid fucking grass, so we just stood doing it every day. And we had like big bully security guards too. It was crazy. And one time I was wearing one of those Halloween cloaks, like a Grim Reaper cloak or whatever.
Awesome.
Because I was making a statement, but they made me take it off like in the middle of class in front of everyone. And I was like,
Were you wearing clothes underneath?
I was, unfortunately. But I was just like, what if I wasn't wearing anything under this? They're like, well, we'd find you a shirt. And I was like, the fuck does that mean?
I said anything.
What does that mean? Like, hey, kid, you're next. Give me your shirt. Like, what is this?
At my school, they actually had a box of like bulky sweaters for the girls who wore shirts that were too exposing. And in Utah, too exposing means that it's a tank top. Like, literally, it could not be sleeveless if you were a girl. If you were a girl and had sleeveless shirt or a cami or, like, spaghetti straps, whatever, you got a bulky-ass sweater that you had to wear for the rest of the day.
We're not talking about Tehran here. We're talking about
Utah.
And, like, so me and my friends were all, like, the punk, like, weirdo kids. And there was like this constant battle with our vice principal where we had managed to push ourselves into this little square where nothing we did technically violated any rules. So there was a rule that nobody could wear gang attire. So the vice principal invented the pinhead gang.
Yeah, we come full circle.
Because, like, the Ramones had the I don't want to be a pinhead no more. So we had, like, these pinhead, like, patches that we wore. So he invented the pinhead gang and black clothes, leather jackets,
gang colors,
trench coats. It was all gang attire for the pinhead gang. So we all like were getting, told that we couldn't wear this shit to school anymore. Black was one of the school colors.
Oh,
how does that even happen?
That's like a bad comedy sketch.
Oh no!
I'm just showing school pride. What?
It did not last long, but it was a good run. Upside down flags, like that was gang colors, like it was bad.
Oh no. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't think of any more things, but just dumb shit like that happened all the time. And we'd always get, whenever something happened, like whenever any major terrible event happened, they went to all the goth kids first. First of all, like, all the white kids were called the goth kids. Because at that time in Hawaii, like, all the white kids banded together in my high school. Because they were the only alternative people, first of all, because they weren't another race. But also, it's just like, we got beat up a lot, so of course we started the fights, right? Because the minority starts the fights. But, so anything that happened, like, a kid jumped off a building, they're like, what'd you guys do? We're like, the kid wanted to kill himself all the time. Like, he literally tried to jump off the building.
You put a spell on him, didn't you?
Yeah, witchcraft.
Oh, black magic.
No, we can't do that, guys. It'll break the rule of 3.
Yeah, no. Oh, God. Light is feathers to the board.
Yeah, it was the worst. I'm so glad I live in Oregon again. And I'm not in high school anymore.
My senior year, I got expelled for a month because... I had a cane. not because I had a limp or anything, but because I was a fucking dork, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna carry a cane with me. And of course, there was a sword in it. Now, I never threatened anyone at school. No one, I never unsheathed it. I never told anyone other than my close group of friends. Back to art class, my art teacher hated me, and when I left my stuff alone, and I was putting my art supplies away. I come back, and she has it just open.
Oh no!
And it was one that was threaded, so you couldn't just go. It had to be unscrewed and taken out. So she actually had to fiddle with it. She's like, I know he has something. And I was like, oh shit. And so they wanted to, and this is my senior year, so they wanted to kick me out permanently. But I had, my parents got me an attorney. I had to have meetings with the superintendent.
Nice.
Like, I was on probation for 6 months. And when I got back to school, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, all those credits from when you were in Illinois as a freshman, they didn't transfer over. They waited until my senior year to tell me that. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, so you have to take freshman health, freshman science, like all these on top of my senior requirements. And I'm like, I just wanted to drop out at that point.
Yeah.
And like the student guidance counselor, it's one of the only teachers that was on my side. She pulled me aside. She's like, Zach, I'm gonna tell you something. She's like, they want you to drop out. That's what they want you to drop out. They're doing this on purpose. And she told me that, and that has lit a fire. I'm just like, well, fuck them. And so I just buckled down, did all of it, and was able to walk with my class. But God, that's just sour grapes, man. Every time I go back there, I'm waiting to hear whether that art teacher's fucking dead.
Just checking the obits.
It's just like Carnes. Shit, she's not dead yet.
I think it would have been great if she unscrewed the sword and just snakes. Like this, like
what are they? What you think it was? Was this pre or post Columbine? I don't know how old.
This was pre Columbine.
Okay.
Because I graduated in *98.
Okay.
I'm old, so.
Yeah, post Columbine, that would have been like straight
gone.
up expelled.
I would probably would have been arrested. I would have been thrown in juvie because I was 17. But yeah, when the Columbine happened, I remember because I was getting ready for work and I turned on the TV and they were talking about it, and all I could think was, oh shit, this is not going to be good for people like me in a small town.
Yeah.
And I had friends who I'm not a religious person. I mean, I'm agnostic, so
that's a big surprise.
Yeah, I know, really, it's shocking. But I had friends that went to church because I don't really care. And they would come and they would tell me these things. They're like, yeah, the preacher was talking about you, saying that you're in the trench coat mafia and you have drug orgies. I was having a lot more fun in the minds of the town folk than I was actually having fun.
Oh man, good to know that you were a fellow trenchcoat mafia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right here.
We're the alumni, apparently.
Yeah,
so in the comments, I want everybody who is a member of the trenchcoat mafia, according to their school, to post a comment and let us know. We got to see how deep this river runs.
Oh man,
yeah.
It was
How far is the network?
The good thing about Columbine, there wasn't a whole lot of good. Is that for like a solid week I didn't get beat up in Hawaii.
That's true.
People were like, oh fuck.
It's like, does he have a gun? Oh no.
Yeah.
Just don't talk to him.
Whoa. Did you see Columbine, bro? Like, oh god.
Oh man, like for me, Columbine happened before I got really weird. Like
that makes sense.
When Columbine happened, I was like still wearing Hawaiian shirts and talking to people about computers way too much. I hadn't hit the point yet where like people were like, oh yeah, we don't want that guy to get too angry.
Oh man, yeah, it was a pretty good week, and then they forgot about it.
Never forget.
Oh man, that was a weird week too.
Oh yeah.
9/11 was a fucked up week.
I was like, was that? Are you saying the Columbine was like a spooky person's 9/11?
It probably was.
Oh man.
Oh no. I was gonna get some weird comments from my military friends.
Yeah, Wes, why would you say that? God.
So Wesley Mueller.
Oh no! Oh no!
He made that comment.
Oh man, well that's crazy. Well, I'm glad we're in a post-Columbine world.
I'm not, because that means it happened.
It's getting worse.
We're
man.
not. It's not even honestly. Like you think about like with Adam Lanza
Sure.
and the Sandy Hook. I mean, people still trying to make parallels to that kind of stuff. You know, or if you look at the Colorado shooting, or I mean, like, because people need to make sense of things, so they need to point at violent movies, violent video games, violent imagery,
Sure.
music. They need the scapegoat, because if they look at the reality where it's just someone who's unhinged and just, maybe had those signs that were ignored,
Sure.
it's snapped, and people don't like that because they can't quantify it. They're like, well, if this plus this, I can look for this, and then I can safeguard myself. Like, no, you can't.
Guess what? Some people are crazy.
There's a podcast called Oh No, Ross and Carrie, which they investigate fringe science and weird people, and groups of people. And there's one about the 9/11 truthers, which is the weirdest thing. But also they said those people, the 9/11 truthers, said that Sandy Hook was a false flag planted by the media.
I know, the crisis actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a fucking bold statement.
I'm like, how would you go there,
Yeah.
walk up to one of the parents whose kids didn't die,
Yeah.
and say that to them and be like, hey, your kid's not really dead.
There's people who do that shit.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing.
They're
It's
called the Westboro Baptists.
Well,
Are they still around after what's his name died?
yeah, they're still,
Yeah.
they excommunicated him before he
Yeah.
died.
That's
Yeah. Well, rest in peace to that guy.
What?
Well, no, I'm not. So,
Rest in pieces, that guy.
Well, no, and this is something that actually bothered me a little bit. Like, I don't care for him, obviously. Like, he's a terrible, terrible person. But I don't want to celebrate the death of anybody. Like,
Sure.
I don't even want to celebrate the death of Osama bin Laden. Like, obviously, just a piece of shit person. But death is death, No matter how awful somebody is, their death is going to affect somebody who wasn't awful in a negative way. And so, because of
No,
that...
but they're still awful.
Well, I mean, like, Osama bin Laden had kids, his kids, he had a lot of kids, and those kids, don't have any basis to understand, like, why their dad is dead. He's probably told them, like...
Yeah, but I mean, do you think they would be raised in that same ideology
Oh, I'm sure.
of hate? Just like the Phelps family, which is carrying on the tradition?
Yeah.
Even Hitler had a girlfriend.
Yeah. And it's
vegetarian,
just
yeah.
like, I don't want
Yeah,
to celebrate
and one testicle.
the death of anybody, really. And
Yeah.
like seeing all the like, fuck that guy, glad he's dead. Like, yeah,
That
it's
was me.
good
I
that
said that. I own up to it.
I was like,
That's
well, it's good that he's not spewing his hatred anymore, but I don't want to like jump to being like, yeah, fuck that guy, and I'm glad he's dead. He could
There's
burn
an
in
interesting.
hell.
I'm studying the sociology of death and dying right now, and it's interesting to see what gets attention as far as someone dying. Like, there's far more people that are famous that people like rally about dying than just normal people that had effects on the community. Like, say an actor dies, everyone's gonna know about it. Even if you don't know who the fuck that person is, you're gonna be like, oh, what's his name died? Oh, it sucks. He was in that one movie that I never saw. Oh, well, that's great. But it's like someone who is actually in your own community who is doing like genuinely awesome things for everyone. He dies or she dies, and you're just like, I guess.
It's just part of life.
So it's weird seeing like this ramp up of people, like these evil forces in the world, and someone dies, and you're like, should we give more of a shit about the people who are doing great things?
Yeah. Also, one thing specifically with Fred Phelps that bothered me is that one of his things was protesting people's funerals. And so
Did anybody protest his funeral?
Well, I'm sure, but I feel like
They didn't have a funeral for him.
Oh, they didn't?
Yeah.
I feel like jumping on the fuck Fred Phelps bandwagon when he's dead is basically like, and I mean, he kind of deserves it, but I also feel like it's, and I don't mean any offense since I know now that you were one of these people, but You know, I feel,
These people. How dare you?
you're
take
one of
offense to
those
that.
people.
Those fucking people,
But like I kind of feel like jumping on the fuck him, I'm glad he's dead kind of stoops to the Westboro Baptist level, and I don't want to be that guy.
It's interesting that they didn't have a funeral. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that
interesting.
either.
Well, before he did an interview in, you know, it might have been CNN, and the reporter was like, you know, you want people to protest your funeral the way you protest other people's funerals, and he was just like, he wanted it. He wanted people to protest this. He's like, I'll even buy you a plane ticket, just not first class. Is what he said.
That's a pretty baller thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, they're just like the ultimate trolls.
Yeah.
And that's why I wouldn't agree. I think the world was a slightly better place that he died, because his level of hate is infectious and it's atavistic as a society, as humans, especially trying to move forward, whether you're speaking technologically, enlightenment, you know, on an existential level or even on a physical level, a humanistic level, people like that pull us back. They evolutionary, in speaking terms like that, they pull us backwards. They are so disgusting with their hate and infectious with their hate and wanting to inflict that level of, you can hate anyone you want. And you can even go and have a YouTube channel where you spew your hate. You know, that's totally fine. You can believe what you want. You can hate who you want to hate. You do what you want, really. But when you take that and you impose it upon other people, especially people who are in the most vulnerable state, the death of someone they love.
Yeah.
And you are taking that and you're purposely taking them at the most vulnerable time and tearing them down even more and trivializing the pain that they're going through because of your fucking whacked out ideology, which believe what you want to believe, but then you're doing that, then I think the world is a better place with people like that removed. Yeah. I agree.
I won't say the world isn't a better place without him. I just don't want to, you know, celebrate that. Like, you know, I can be happy that he's gone without saying, you know,
rejoicing,
without like public celebration of it.
Bringing it back full circle though, this conversation to me means that your image in public is very important, because the way you portray yourself, not necessarily in public but to your fans and the people that follow you, is extremely important and very vulnerable. There's a lot of bands now that don't really consider that, I don't think. Like, they just think like, well, it's really popular in metal to have crazy naked chicks everywhere and like do drugs on screens and like
cliches.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you saying though? Like, what do your actual words mean? I think that's a kind of a weird thing that's happened, especially with industrial recently. Over the last couple of years, it's just like none of the words mean anything.
Yeah, it's just like a hodgepodge of like catchphrases.
Yeah,
it's just like if it was a movie, it'd be an action movie, like a Schwarzenegger action movie. There's a bunch of one-liners like, yeah, this is clever. There's no content, but hey, I remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. It's just like, so what are you saying about yourself in your lyrics? You know, is that how you really feel? Is that who you really are? Are you just spouting a bunch of catchphrases because it's easy to follow and people can like fucking punch the air to?
Which I understand on like a certain level, because obviously dance music in itself is pretty mild on the lyrical level, just because it's dance music. Like, a lot of it's not lyrics. But at the same time, it's like you have this opportunity to reach a lot of people, and you might as well say that's something good, you know, even if it's like, fuck that guy, but for a reason. And not so much just like, your throat is just my dick. And it's like, well, that's not really words.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
how did you make that?
Yeah, not to mention any specific bands or anything, but like kind of the flux of like, you know, just like, I want to come on you, like,
yeah,
you know, I want to fuck your throat, like.
Are you propositioning me, or?
Well, that can come after, but
Oh my.
But it's like, you know, it's just like, these are the strings I pull to make you dance. And I don't really care about what I'm saying. I'm just doing the thing that I do to make you move and buy my music. And it's frustrating.
It's disingenuous to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying everything has to be some kind of deep meaning, esoteric, layered, you know, poetry jerk-off fest, which is fun. But, you know, not everything has to be that. But, you know, where do you find that line between making something that is still meaningful, but still something that is accessible and not so personal that it gets completely lost?
Yeah.
You know, that's great. And, you know, I'm guilty of that. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that with some songs that I've written that it makes maybe no sense to anyone but myself. And
well, we're here to get to the bottom of that shit. So from song number 1 on the demo, we want you to explain.
The sad thing is I probably could, but that would be really boring.
Yeah.
That doesn't say anything.
It doesn't say anything.
Do you notice that there's someone watching your house from the outside? Do you notice there's a van with the lights on across the street?
No, good.
It's like a camping trailer.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. Well,
good. We stumbled upon something.
I'm not that well.
He's not gonna let us.
Maybe they will.
I'm gonna keep. No, I have to.
You had to do.
I have to keep things very PC. Nah, well, I'm not a very PC person. I'm really not a PC
this is a
person.
Podcast. We're explicit.
But
and we are explicitly PC, as in podcast.
But
I am so sorry. No,
but seriously, some things, if I said what I want to say, I would have zero people coming to any shows. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll save that for after we turn off the microphone. Yeah. So the microphone's off. What was that?
Well, so anyway.
Well,
yeah.
We're hitting about an hour. So is there anything else you wanted to cover as far as like promotion or where people can find you on the interwebs? Where can
you
they
can find me in dark alleys.
That makes sense.
And gay bathhouses.
William Mutual.
There you go.
Yeah. It's like all his first album. Anyway. So what's where you at? What do you have Twitters? Do you have Facebooks?
We do have Twitter. I don't know that because I don't man that. That's Eric. He does. I don't know. So I mean, we're on Instagram. So if you can remember Dead Animal Assembly Plant, then you can find us on Instagram that way.
Right.
You know, Facebook, of course, we have that. There's an official website, but it's kind of outdated. We have a YouTube channel, which has a lot of live footage. So if you haven't seen us live, which I guess is probably a lot of people, all things considered, you can kind of see what we're about on there. And yeah, I mean, I guess just keep your eyes open for the new album, which I don't have a date. I would love to have a date. I would say...
How close is it to being done?
I would say late summer, early fall. Yeah.
Awesome.
This year. And it's old-fashioned Hellfire because I am not a religious person, but I love writing about religion.
Great. Well, awesome. Thanks for having us at your house.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming by. It was fun.
It was a good talk, I think. I had a good time.
I love shooting the breeze.
Yeah.
That's better than a formalized interview.
Yeah.
It's so stilted and kind of boring.
Just getting like a questionnaire and being like, please fill out this form for us.
From 1 to 5.
Multiple choice.
How do you feel about... Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, this was our conversation with Zach from Dead Animal Assembly Plant. Thank you again for joining us.
Yes.
You can find us. We are on all of the internets now. We have our Facebook.com/talkingtoghosts, Twitter.com/talkingtoghost, no S.
Hard T.
And if you have any questions or you want to tell us how much you hate us or how much you love us, we're also, you can email us at talkingtoghostscast@gmail.com. Do you have anything you want to plug, Michael?
No, yeah, there's a lot of good shows coming up in Portland in general. Comic Crisis August on tour. Zach's opening for them, which is really fun. But aside from that, we're going to take a weird self picture. And that's it. All right, well, keep an eye out for websites. Thanks, guys.